This is Andy.
Excitement's building.
This is Thursday.
I'm nervous. Breathe with me, guys.
And this is Andy on Thursday. That's right, we gave Andy his own show.
No way. No way.
Yes way, Andy.
Holy sheet.
Holy sheet indeed. Andy Given Thursday. Live every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, only on the Comic Core.
Holy sheet is right. It's 10 p.m. This is Andy Given Thursdays. This is the Comic Core. I'm ComicManAndy. Everybody smash that like button, subscribe, be a part of the Comic Core family, and share a comment with us. Tell us what you're thinking. So welcome. Like I said, it's Thursday night. We got an awesome panel again tonight, and got a couple of returning guests and a nice new guest. Looking forward to discussing some things with him. And the topic tonight, grading comic books, comic book companies, CGC, CBS, PGX. So let's get it on. And once again, coming back, Chad. Welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great to see you. I was catching your show earlier. You had like over 100 people watching, and you guys unboxed those Superior boxes. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good show. I got some good stuff out of there too, man. I was very happy with my boxes.
Dude, that was killer, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys do that again. And returning, Geek Aficionado, man.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Yeah, not a problem. Always a pleasure to talk about Chad's box.
And for the first time on tonight, we've got OutCast Comics. Nolan, thanks for making the time, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
And this is great because actually you are recently, within the last couple of months, you're now a CBCS authorized person, are you not?
Yes, I am.
So yeah, for everybody listening and watching, how about you introduce yourself, introduce your company, and tell us your experience about achieving that.
Well, my name is Nolan Ryan. For those of you guys that don't know, I own OutCast Comics, formerly SNI Comics. We just changed the name back in February. I used to actually use CGC for all of my personal books and my customer books, but we've had a few issues with CGC over a few points in time, and I reached out to a few people, and they introduced me to Tim Bildhauser, who is one of the main guys for CBCS, and got everything rolling with them last November, and I was approved before C2E2 in February.
Oh, nice.
Oh, good timing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was like the quickest ever approval for becoming a facilitator and authorized dealer. So, hands off to the guys that put in the good words for me. So,
dude, that's awesome, man. Once again, appreciate your time. Thank you. Let's hit up this chat really quick. We actually had tailgaters tonight, which is something new for me.
I saw that.
Except for Chris Barrett. You can't have a show if Chris Barrett doesn't show up. I mean, you guys in every show, everywhere.
He is the ultimate comic stalker, yes.
Yeah. Carson, I should actually be doing this from this side instead of the other side. Yep, Chris Barrett. Carson, man, thanks for stopping in. Backseat driver, it's always great having you in the chat, man. Thank you very much. And we've got Rhino's comic report. So Rhinos and OutCast, you guys are pretty good friends. You guys talk quite a bit.
Yes, myself and Ryan Hayslip are pretty close. So
good to see you, Ryan. And scrolling right down, Stream Elements bot. All the other shows shouted out. Not sure why, but the bot is here. The bot is running. Rod the Rican, man, thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. So this isn't really just talking about why one person should go to this company or that company or anything. There's a lot of shared experience here. There's a lot of knowledge here on the panel. And this kind of idea came up in discussion because of CBCS's announcement last week where they're doing a registry, right?
Yes, they are actually doing the census, the same thing that CGC does. I actually knew about this 2 weeks ago because of being a facilitator. I get the emails before everybody else, but so I can't wait for that to actually start.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that because they haven't done that, and that's one of the reasons why I'd been part of CGC stuff for so long. Chad, go ahead.
So the one they're running right now, is that not official then? Because you can go to the site and look it up now. But I saw a lot of books I have that are not even on there. That's why
It's pretty buggy.
Yeah, so from what I'm understanding, I'm not sure if they are going to put the stuff that was already pre-graded into that system, because I don't know if they track all of that or not. I mean, it may end up in there, but I don't know if it will, and if it does, we don't know how long it will take.
Yeah. As long as they're trying, that makes me feel better, because I mean that's a big chunk they've already graded. I mean that could really skew the numbers in the sense that they don't eventually get them all in there, you know.
Yeah.
So I hope they do eventually get that all the way in there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they not want to do it for a long while because they didn't want to throw any weird numbers or make people think that there was, like, just because there was one of one book on their census doesn't mean that's all that existed. Is that about right?
Yeah. What I personally would like to see is actually a combined census between CGC and CBCS. That would actually give us complete 100% accurate numbers on every single book graded at that level, at that grade point, for everybody to know what's out there. You know,
I can imagine the third parties will probably start picking that up. Guys like Go Collect and such, they're going to have to in order to be able to support their current market elements.
Right.
You know, so expect that GPA and Go Collect will be adding those in there and be feeding those numbers. Of course, they're probably going to want to wait until they make sure that they have accurate information coming in from CBCS.
Right.
Tough part is too, though. I don't think I used to get accurate numbers. It's never going to be truly accurate, just because how many people crack slabs of CBCS, brought them to CGC, and vice versa. I mean,
I haven't cracked back. I haven't cracked back, but I've cracked CGC books, and I have a stack of labels that I need to send into them so that they'll update their census numbers. Which is, I mean, that's a message to everybody watching this video. It's incredibly important that if you do CPR a book, or if you go from one census to the other, please report that stuff in, and there should be email addresses available for that from both graders.
Yeah, because I have a 101 book I'm thinking about trying to crack and take a shot at 9.8, because there's none out there yet. But I'm afraid I don't want 3 9.6s to show up in the census when I have the only one. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's a good thing to remember. I didn't even know, I'm newer to this stuff, so I'm not. That's a great thing that you told me, because I'll do that from now on. If I crack them, send them in so they have on their census.
Super important, and they'll repeat it, and anybody else who's involved in the market will do the same, because again, it skews the numbers, and that's actually a really good segue, because one of the things that I think is going to be really critically important is understanding how this changes comic value by having CBS actually have a census now. Right? These are numbers that are reported in that are, when you base the value of a book based on how many are actually graded out there, how many are graded in a specific category, and say, oh, well, I've got the only 9.8 out there, right? This book here is one of only a handful graded at this grade for CGC, right? But what does CBCS numbers look like for it, right? And how is that going to affect the value of this book, because there's now maybe an extra 10, or maybe there's an extra 10,000.
Right. I mean, that's like, a few of the books I've got sitting behind me are literally one of one. Yeah. There's a Rick and Morty right here.
I love it.
Signed by Stan Lee. That is the only one in CGC census.
Why would you have a Rick and Morty book signed by Stan Lee?
It's the ASM or the AF-15 homage.
Oh, okay.
And then there's the Venom the End #1 right here that actually is the only one with a manufacturer error.
God, yeah.
I was lucky enough to get that book. And then there's this one. My newest one to my personal collection is The House of Golden Bones #1, written by the lead singer of Slipknot and Stone Sour, Corey Taylor.
Yeah.
This is actually signed by Corey Taylor.
Nice.
So this is another one of one. I've been trying to find this book signed by Corey Taylor for freaking years. I had a buddy of mine come across it and was like, hey, do you want this? I was like, just give me a number. I'll take it. I don't care.
That's the tough part with those books. One of ones, one of three, one of four. When the census numbers are so incredibly low,
Yeah.
That's why I'm excited for this registry or this census from CBCS, because it brings to light what else is out there. Now, I've bought some CBCS books, but primarily I've always collected CGC. That's changing, and you know why? That CBCS value, when you're shopping around, that's on par with CGC now. If you're flipping books, or if you're turning books, or if you're collecting, like me, I'm not a speculator in the definition that everybody thinks. I pay attention to things and speculate for my personal collection and buy low, but I never sell. I'm a black hole collector. Everything that ends up in my collection turns into a black hole and stays there. I've maybe, besides selling my original collection when I was in the military, that's the only really big sale I've ever done. A couple here and there. I might need to start selling raw copies of modern books just to make room, but I'm turning into a black hole collector. So for those numbers to be potentially combined with CBCS and CGC, what was difficult for me to find is going to be a lot easier to find now, hopefully. And that value coming back up and being on par with CGC is just healthy for the economy as a whole, if you will, in comic books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gone are the days of being able to buy a CBCS slab for 30%, 40% less in the same grade as a CGC, and then flipping it or cracking it, pressing it, and turning it into a CGC slab. Those days are gone. I mean, you can find some good deals still, but more often than not, I'm seeing a lot of the CBS. Is that something you guys are seeing as well?
I personally, I've collected both over the years. Yes, you know, when I first got into this, it was, CDC, stay away from PGX, don't touch that crap with a 10-foot pole, you know. And then there was this newer company that was having issues. They relocated, moved there out to Texas, and, you know, then everything got fixed. So their turnaround times literally got cut drastically. Like, it's literally taking an eighth of the original time that it used to take to get books graded through them. So that was one of the biggest things with me about switching from CGC to CBCS on a customer and dealership wise. Just because, you know, no dealer likes getting a million messages. Do we know any updates on the book? Do we have any updates? Do we have any updates?
Yep.
Dude, they're in grading, man. We're at the mercy of them right now. You know, I mean, but the thing is, we're still going to get those messages, and you're still going to get the same answer. It's at grading. As soon as I have an update, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just part of the game.
I feel you on the time frames, right? You know, because I do cleaning and pressing services, and I do submissions for customers. And, you know, what I found is that there are specific tiers of books that are going to come back quick, right? You know, modern, you can pretty much expect it's going to be 30-day turnaround, right?
On average, yeah.
20 business days on there, right? It's a month. And yeah, that's on average. Sometimes there's delays and whatnot. The value tier is like literally the embodiment of a black hole, right? And why
when
is
they get time and they find it in the bottom of this box, they'll do it.
Right. Well, yeah, but then, that's what it seems like. However, the truth aspect of that is that the vast majority of books that are submitted out there are less than $200, and they're pre-1975. You know, I mean, that is your entire Silver Age catalog that isn't keys. And a lot of those books get submitted. And even some of the keys, right, are in the low grades, you know, that are keys. You get so much more. And then you counter into the fact that you go into a show during con season, right? They're at every show. They've taken half their grading staff out for the ones that they're doing on-site grading for, and they've stuck them there so they can burn through books in a weekend. And, you know, yeah, it's a bad business model for delivery on that one. So what I've learned is, if you're going to submit value tier during the summer, do fast track, right? Eat the extra $10 if you want the books back. So every customer I get that says, hey, I'm going to submit this book, and I go, okay, this is this is value tier. We're doing fast track, right? That's all I submit during con season. But right now, fortunately, we don't even have to worry about that because the value tier stuff is coming back faster than moderns.
Yeah, and what I was going to actually do, because with C2E2, I was just doing, okay, base $35 for grading. That covers your shipping to and from CBCS. And then you just pay shipping from me to you once it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to start at Emerald City doing $45 with every single book being automatic fast pass. Because, once con season starts rolling, everything gets backed up. Yeah. And now we're looking at, 3, 4, 5 month turnaround on books. So that's why I was, I'm still going to go to that. But right now I don't need to because we're still having a decent turnaround time right now.
Yeah. And I mean, that's another thing. The con turnaround times are ridiculous. I lost so many pre-sales on Batman 89s and 90s because I dropped the books off at C2E2. It took 2 weeks to get checked in.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. And then the clock starts, right? Because the volume at the show is so high and they've got to go through all that stuff. So there's the signature series stuff that's getting done. It's the private signature series setups that are happening. And then you've got all the regular submissions that are going through there.
Yeah.
It just, I was like, okay, I'm never doing that again. I'm just going to ship this stuff. And, because my hope was I'm like, hey, I'm right here. I'll just drop it off. Right. And it's going to be safe. Right. It's better than me sending it through the postal service and having them damage the book before it gets there.
Right.
But I do a really good job with packing to make sure that everything stays, solid. Right. No corner opportunities.
I think, us sellers, we all need to start buying stock in bubble wrap just because of how much we actually use and go through. Same with freaking packing tape and masking tape.
Oh, yeah. The 3 things I spend the most money on is bubble wrap, packing tape, and Geminis.
Believe it or not, I actually started using, I use Geminis. But I've also got these nifty little boxes from Bags Unlimited. And these things actually hold 20 books.
Yeah.
Bagged and boarded. And these things are durable and they're sturdy.
Yeah, like the Spider-Man booth box type stuff.
Yep.
All right,
so
it's a craft dealer you can get from Uline actually in big packs.
Yeah, you can actually get these from Bags Unlimited. Bundles of 100 for like $107 shipped.
Yeah.
So I actually went to those just because it was, cost wise, you don't use as much bubble wrap, so you're cutting costs down there.
Yeah.
And as long as you charge the right amount for shipping, you charge them for the box anyways.
See, I have trouble trusting boxes in that shape because I've had so much trouble with the medium flat rate box from the postal service. Not the long one, but the shorter one that's more like looks like a comic size.
Yep.
I've had so many complaints from customers getting their stuff all jacked up and then no recourse with the post office. It's just
that's another reason why I was looking into other options of why I went with those boxes.
Stronger corners.
Oh yeah, those things are durable.
Corners, yeah.
Those things are durable.
Well, that's a great segue. You talk about turn times. And as somebody who's not much of a seller, I've had time on my side. I've never fast passed anything. I've always been the person to, you know what? Let me sit and wait it out. Let's see what happens. And all good things come to those who wait kind of mentality. But this last submission really tested me. Baltimore drop-off. I dropped off my biggest drop-off ever in Baltimore, and it was just a matter of like a month ago that I got it back. Now, to be honest, I had CCS clean and press everything. I have everything clean and pressed. I don't care if the thing's perfect when I send it out. I'm paying that extra $12. If it was you, Geek, if it was you, I would still pay to clean and press if that thing was a Gem Mint Perfect 10.0 book, because want that
I
chance.
press everything that goes out. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
And I've still
Yeah.
had books come back to me as a 9.6 and go, no, that edge bend wasn't there when I sent it to you. Where the hell did that come from?
Which is why they have that disclaimer all the time too.
Yep.
And we'll get to that because we've all got some of those experiences as well.
Yeah.
5 months just for CCS. And it wasn't until that I hit them up. I'm like, look, guys, CCS charged my card a month ago. Why are my books not in grading right now? Please help me out with this. And I was very polite about this because there's so many factors. There's human error, there's clerical error, there's so many other things that play into this. And it's like, let me be nice and just ask. I asked, I got an honest response. My books were graded and shipped back to me in less than 10 days after I asked. So either something got missed or something happened. But and that box went 10 for 11, 9.8 and 196. And I had 4 copies of ASM 361 in there. And I was like, that was dope. The weight paid off for me because I'm not somebody who's going to sell really, but somebody who's selling, that's a struggle. That's, you can't sit on submissions for 6 months. You just can't.
I remember that video. I remember I was panicking like you were. That was a crazy video.
I still sweat.
The sweaty armpits on that. Yeah. Isn't that the beginning of this video of the show here?
Yeah, that's half the clips for the opening bumper for this video are from that video. That was a really good segue for that because those wait times for me, I don't care and I do, but then when we talk about OutCast and we talk about Geek Aficionado here, and Chad, sometimes you're doing favors for friends, you're doing flipping for friends and family and whatnot.
I still on eBay once in a while,
Times matter.
Yeah.
And 6 months is so. I really like what CBCS is doing. I like the forward momentum, and if they ever talk about adding cleaning and pressing, that would be kind of neat. Granted, like I said earlier, I want to move to a third party at some point, and I'm still experimenting with CCS.
I wish they would sponsor a third party for pressing and not do it themselves.
Yeah,
I think it'd be better because it's just too much. It's a lot to handle to take that onto your stuff too. You know.
CCS is a separate company.
Yeah. The issue really is they don't actually advertise the wait time.
Yeah.
Right? They're not good at that. I mean, they're going to tell you how long it's going to take in order to actually, get the book done, but they don't, the CCS portion of it, I've only sent one book to CCS for cleaning, right? And it was an Avengers #4, and I'm like, I could do this, but it had this really strong, it was folded poorly, right? Or somebody tried to, the staples were not center, right? They're not center on the side, right? So everybody's seen it, Silver Age books, right? The staple will be a half inch into the back cover. And that's the way it was. So it looked like somebody tried to put it where the staples were and got it nice and flat a long time ago. And it sat there for 40 years, on top of it. And I'm like, no, I got to get this thing centered back up. And I'm like, I'm going to send it to CCS just, so it's insured. I don't want to, just didn't want to do it myself at the time. And
let me hit it.
They did.
Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
They did a good job. I mean, the book's a 6.5, obviously it had some other defects to it, but I mean, they did okay. But yeah, it took a while. And that was even, I think that was standard level submission, right? That's, in excess of $200. So whatever that next tier was.
Yeah. Let me hit up this comment really quick. Ragman, thanks for hanging out and commenting. The still experimenting part is with experimenting with grading, not with the grading company. I'm experimenting with my ability to grade and learn from other people and know what I'm sending out versus what I'm going to get back. Because there's always that disclaimer. There's always the issues of handling. But please, go on. That's tough because
I want to go back to what you were saying earlier too, because I think there still is a little bit of a difference in pricing for CBCS and CGC.
Jimmy had a comment on that too. I think he wanted to bring it out as well. Yeah,
and I still think there's a small gap there, but I think it's still there. You know what I mean? But I think it's something that's closing every day, and eventually it won't be there anymore. And they might even pass up CGC. I'm waiting for their new cases to come out, which they announced, but no one's seen it. I think they're actually going on Home in New York Warriors to show the new cases. And also, I'm waiting for their magazine size to come out. Once that comes out, I have a ton of books I want to send in magazine size that are autographed, and I don't want to send them through CGC because I don't want to get the weird labels. I don't want the
you don't want the green label, you want the red label.
Yeah, I want the red label, which is a huge thing for CBCS, and it's also something that I think is going to really show a lot on the census if they get there. How many autograph books more they had than CGC on a percentage wise, because they do the red labels. And there are artists that won't sign for CGC that you have to send through there,
Yeah.
And
right,
that's very telling.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's.
But like you were just saying, there are a lot of artists that will not sign to grade for CBCS, and there are artists that will not sign and grade CGC.
Really?
Yeah. There's actually a lot more than people realize. No, Capullo, you can actually grade on both.
Because, I noticed that he's doing CBCS, but not CGC.
Well, I mean, I can't speak on the CGC side of things because I'm CBCS. Yeah. But when I talked to him last year, everything that I had signed by him was all CBCS. So
it can totally just be a timing thing. But when CBCS and CGC had released the slate of signers, right? They're identical except for the fact that CBCS has Greg Capullo and CGC doesn't. Right. So you can only get that Capullo signature, Capullo Snyder combo at CBCS.
I'm saving all for my money for when Alex Ross is signing for one of these guys.
I got to get my facilitation stuff done because Alex Ross lives just down the road.
Yeah, I mean that's right there. I'm just all my money is saved for that right now. So
now I will tell you guys this one. Jim Lee is CGC only.
Yeah.
Just like before Stan Lee passed away, CGC only. For the yellow labels. Now you could submit it for a red label through CBCS, but not a yellow label.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I think that's a really valid market piece that they've got is being able to do that, right? To be able to do the validated signatures. And to be honest with you, I get where CGC is with doing the signature series, right? And let's be honest, right? CBCS has a signature series as well. It's no big trick, right? They can do both. But CBCS also has that signature validation. And I mean, we're talking about a technology that's used by the courts, right? If we can convict people based on handwriting samples, I'm sure that we can put some value behind a freaking comic book based on the same technology.
Right. And the thing is people are all worried about, who they got looking at these signatures. Well, the company they have looking at these signatures, guys, is Beckett. And Beckett is very, very well known in the sports memorabilia side of things as signature verification services. So, I mean, you're dealing with the best in the businesses at signature verification. So, I mean, I wouldn't fret on buying a red label at all. Do I think it's going to affect the value being a yellow label to a red label? Maybe a little bit, but I will tell you right now, it costs $25. Even my cost as a dealer, $25 per signature that you are having verified.
Well, you know what? If it's Jack Kirby,
it's not cheap.
About it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, too, even with the yellow labels, there's human and there's everybody's fallible, and there's problems with that too. You can't tell me there hasn't been a yellow label made that someone officially didn't see signed before, because I don't believe that for 1 second. You know what I mean? If someone signed, I know people that submitted their own books as yellow labels because they're a facilitator, and I believe that they did it. But how do I know 100% for sure they didn't have? They saw it. I'm not saying they faked the signatures, but how do I know it's not one of their old books they got signed in front of the guy 10 years ago?
Well,
and we don't know until now.
With that, if you get caught, me as being an authorized dealer, if I get caught submitting anything that was signed over 30 days ago, I will lose my whole livelihood. You will lose your facilitator, you will lose your certified dealership, and you will never get it back. So for someone to mess around and mess with their livelihood that much, if they're dumb enough to do that,
there are people
they don't believe, they shouldn't be a facilitator or dealer anyway.
For sure. I agree with you.
Yeah, well, they obviously can't submit for something that they didn't have, a recent thing for, right? Where there wasn't a recent signing available.
Correct.
But say someone knew this big guy's be signing at this thing, and he already has 20 signed by the guy already. And he was like, well, I'll just put mine in there too. I'm a facilitator. I can say I saw it signed. He probably really did. It might have been 6 months ago or a year ago, but they don't know if it got signed right then. You know what I mean?
So on that, it kind of goes on the honor system.
Yeah.
They have to have trust in their authorized dealers and facilitators for that type of stuff. Which I understand. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of things that can happen. Like I'll tell you right now, I can walk across my room and go to a long box and pull out books, and you can ask a few guys that are in here that are always in my live sales, and I tell them, no, this cannot be graded. It was signed too long ago.
Yeah.
I can give you a COA for it, but that is it.
No, and I'm not saying you by any means.
You're getting the green level.
I'm saying the red label by me is closer to a yellow label as people realize, because there's an extra step of actually verifying that. You know what I mean? But it's just
right.
But so I wouldn't put all my faith in the rules of one and not the other. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
There's validity to both of them. So people could do something. I don't say there are, but I'm saying I used to watch people try to catch them stealing for a living. So I think of every angle how they could do it. You know what I mean?
So with that comment that you just put up there for the whole Rob Liefeld not drawing feet, he actually went on vacation and purposely took a crap ton of photos.
Oh, the feet
of him without showing his feet on purpose. So I mean, it was just for a laugh. It was funny. I mean, the thing is yes, he is kind of sensitive about it, but he jokes about it himself. So I mean, it is kind of it's funny when an artist does pick on themselves with things that they have issues with too. So
I think Chris Barrett has a great comment right there too.
Yeah, that is a great comment. They won't honor.
I was actually just responding to that.
Yeah. I mean, if you got one from the Stanley store, signed, sealed, and everything from his own process he had before, I mean, that's almost as valid, almost as valid as these guys seeing them and registering, because they were signed and seen by him too. The Stanley, and those are the same books they sent to grading. Mm-hmm. And just some people didn't want them graded, but they could have did it if they wanted to.
But the other side of it is the store has the ability to be disingenuous about it, right? They can go, let me, they got somebody who can actually do the signatures. Oh, and let me add these books in here and send those in and say that they were done, by the artist as well.
Point. That might be the same sort that's a facilitator sending them in anyways. You're
right. There is that possibility, but there has to be a level of trust.
It's the same.
But there has to be a level of trust, right? Like the facilitator has to. Like, do you have paperwork, Nolan, that you have to fill out specific to being a facilitator?
Yes, there's actually, oh God, it was probably 15 or 20 pieces of paper I had to go through, fill out, and sign, and everything else like that. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot more than people think and realize. And then on top of that, to be able to become a facilitator, even through CBCS, you actually have to have CBCS dealers and facilitators verify you. So it's like getting a diamond account. You actually have to have other people vouch for you to get this account. It's not an easy thing to come across.
It's way easier to get a diamond account. All you need is $20 in a rack. You could have a shoe shine booth and get a diamond account.
As long as you can dedicate a certain amount of your store to new comics, you can get a diamond account.
Exactly.
Like certain companies.
Yeah, to your point, the reason why CGC is so strict and specific about the signature verification thing, right? It's because there is no margin, right? There's just, we saw it, we signed off on it, and that's it. Right.
Yeah. So with CGC, it's actually a 3-part verification, and then once it's signed by the artist actually has to ship it to CGC. Like if it's for a private signing, so say with Darren from Unknown Comics, he's going up to Tyler Kirkham's house in a few weeks for a private signing. Those books will not leave Tyler's with Darren. They will actually be shipped from Tyler to CGC. even though Darren is a facilitator, you can't with CGC. You can't witness your own yellow label signatures, which is why it becomes a 3-part process.
And that's why I asked the question, because I didn't know that aspect of it. That's why I wanted to know. Like I'm like devil's advocate right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to know what's going on.
Right. So with CBCS, I am the facilitator. I have artists come into my shop. I have, private signings. They sign the books. I receive them into my personal possession. I go on to the CBCS website to fill out all the information, who it was signed by, when it was signed, the whole date, everything, and then it gets shipped out. And Skeff, to your comment there, no. They're not any grading company will accept a COA as a verified or authorized signature. Not CGC, not CBCS, nobody.
Yep.
And like Mr. Gretzky said, I know we haven't been talking about it as much, but yes, they do have a series for PGX, like a red label for them too.
Hold on, do we really want to go down this black hole? I know we talked about this. I'm just part of the segment for today's show, but we really want to.
Well, we do. We're about at the halfway point. We'll eventually segue to that. But I want to play devil's advocate, like Chad said, and say on the flip side of a coin, an experience I had with a CGC signing via a facilitator. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say where. I'm not going to say when or what.
I'll tell you.
I got in line, pulled out the books that I wanted to have signed, filled out their paperwork, paid them while I was in line before anything even happened, and then didn't see those people again until I was dropping the books off in the same room. They were in the same room, mind you, but
they weren't watching.
When I think of a actual facilitator or a witness, I'm thinking somebody that's there with me.
Yes.
Hey, you're good. Thank you for your books. Move on. That's not the process. When you're moving 2, 3, 4, 500 people in a line for an artist or a creator and they're doing it, that's just not happening.
Right.
When it comes to who's to say that I didn't add a 4th book to that out of my backpack that wasn't signed by him?
Right. So with the submissions, like even at C2E2 for CGC, okay, we'll go with CGC because CGC was there on the floor. I mean, CBCS was as well, but they had signature witnesses running around with people standing in line with them. Even the facilitators that were going through the lines, once those books were signed, those books then got put into a plastic sleeve and sealed. Yeah. With that sleeve also was how many books, what books, the whole 9.
Yeah. So was that CGC actual facilitators or was it a third-party facilitator?
So that was a CGC facilitator.
Okay.
I know this because I know who it is.
That's the difference then in my experience.
Well, for example, I mean, to Nolan's point, so I was taking requests from my customers. That guy's one of them. And I would go and I would get the CGC witness. But here's what you have to do. You have to have your paperwork filled out in advance, right? You have to list the book that you're going to have signed. You're going to have to write on there all of your information. You're going to have to put the person who you want to have it signed by, and then you get your witness, right? You have to do that before you get the witness to go to the place, right? To the artist or writer. Once you get there, they have a little card that they fill out that has the name of the person and the number of books. When they're done, like Nolan said, that goes into the evidence bag, right? Which is basically what it is. It's a tamper-proof evidence bag. Your paperwork goes in there, the card goes in there, it gets sealed, and it's sent to CG. It's given to CGC as a handoff to get graded, right? There is a whole chain of custody process that happens with that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but, and they're red shirts, which is perfect because you're just expecting one of them to get snuffed.
Andy, you guys want to look at the private chat real quick?
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab my mouse. My mouse is being plugged in.
Interesting. Do you want to talk more about that, Chad?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Well,
Well, I mean, there's no dispute, right, that there have been people who have come across books that have been tampered with, right?
Yeah.
Which is what the changes in the technology have improved over time, right? So there's been a number of stories of people buying stuff off of eBay, getting a book that's clearly not a 9.8 in the case with a 9.8, right? And that has pushed them to change the way that they built the cases and the way that they put the stuff together. For example, so everybody knows, right? There's the outer case, right, and then there's the inner well,
inner bladder. Yep.
Yeah. Which is what typically pisses most people off because of the Newton rings. But the thing about it is that the label now is actually attached as part of the inner well, right? So you can't take this out anymore and put in a new one without having to do anything. Now, the other side of that is that you'll be able to see it on the side here where the weld is on the plastic itself, and it's usually at least on one side where they finish the process. But I cannot get this bottom to open without it cracking the case anywhere else around it, and the bottom is probably the most opportune place to do that, where it's going to less visible damage. But as soon as I start going through there, it'll snap this acrylic. Right. So the case technology has come a long way. And so everything that I have is always going to be these brand new cases, because it's the only thing that I can guarantee is actually, certified and not something else somebody, put together.
That's a great point. I remember way back in the day when CGC first, and I was like, oh God, nobody's going to do this. This is a terrible idea. You can't read the comics. But I remember when CGC was coming out, this is early, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, somewhere in there, and eBay was getting big. People were sneaking those labels out of those slabs and swapping them out. That was a thing back then, 50 years ago. Thankfully, not, and the slab technology has come a long way. So that's a great point, actually.
And the hologram that he's talking about on there, it's actually attached to both.
Yeah.
So it's attached to the paper, and there's actually adhesive for when they put the slab together where it sticks to the plastic as well. So it's literally 100% tamper-proof. And the CBCS, I wish they would go to something like that. I know that they are doing the new cases. I know they are talking about changing the labels up as well. Even though I know they just came out with this new label, they are trying to find more tamper-proof ways to go, so we don't have those kind of issues anymore. And that is just something I would really love to see come across, fairly soon.
Well, that's what's great about this. The news with CBCS and the news with everything coming out, it creates competition. Competition creates innovation. Innovation creates products and services. Yeah. And there are definitely no shortage of us willing to be a part of this hobby.
So over thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah, there's support here for this. So innovation and new products are great, in my opinion.
Mr. Gretzky, to answer your question, no, they are not. They are actually supposed to be rolling out the end of June, I do believe, June or July.
Depends how fast I get rid of the ones I got now.
Well, no. Actually, they've even stated it doesn't matter how many of the old styles they've got left. They were supposed to roll them out just after C2E2 for Emerald City, but then Emerald City didn't happen, so they were trying to figure out a new release date for it.
Well, I know one of the reasons too they couldn't get tooling because a lot of the shops are down for extra stuff. So they couldn't get tooling done to make the new slab. So I know that was one of the big reasons. But I'm really looking forward to it. Like I said, I have a lot of books autographed. I need to get red labeled. I heard they're changing the red label a little bit, so I can't wait to see what happens with that.
I'm looking forward to those new labels too. But this is a good segue. We're 45 minutes into a lot of the good things that CGC and CBCS provide for us as collectors and us as a community. Let's talk a little bit more about the racier things. Yeah, because experiences, truth, whatever. Let's talk about this. So many of us know about other facilitators that are out there, and we're gonna go right into PGX, and I'm gonna share these pictures that Chad found, and this is
I found this in my book.
No, that was from one of Chad's books in his personal collection.
This is actually your book, Chad. Okay,
I sold it a couple months ago, but yeah, it's my original my book.
I'm glad you shared these, and I had no idea this was your book. I remember seeing this online. I was like, "Oh my lord!" So,
I'll let you show it, then I'll talk about it. Go ahead and show it.
Yeah. 9.0 Nova newsstand edition. Who doesn't love that Nova cover, right? And you start digging a little deeper. And then you dig a little deeper. Wait a second. Then you dig a little deeper. Hey, wait a second. So that book that
Clearly we didn't open the book.
So walk us through that experience. I don't know if you bought that secondhand or if you submitted it.
What happened was I only started collecting literally 7 months ago. So I was like, I like the Nova story. I was kind of going for it, looking at some of the speculation lists and stuff like that. I went to a local shop by me, and they had a raw. So I don't even know if I can blame PGX. The only thing I can blame them for sure is they make their slab so easy to break into. You know what I mean? There's just a couple of glue guns. You can get them popped open and closed back up again like nothing happened. Like they're old style, the pegs. You can melt the pegs back like it's original. And so I bought a 9.0 raw from the same person. And it was a 9.0 raw. I mean, it was a good Nova book. I bought it. And then he goes, well, I got this slab one too, if you want it. He goes, I'll give you this one for 70, which is also 9.0.
Because he knew he was shady.
Yeah. And he goes, I bought off him for 70, not even thinking about it. So, okay, just took it and walked away. Because you get the cases, you feel like you should be able to trust the grades, which I would do at the time. And you should always look at the books, no matter what company it is, no matter what grade it is. Everybody has their own bad days grading, I should say. So you might find a bad one somewhere else. You know what I mean? So always check out the books. Don't just take the grading sleep for their word. But I mean, it really was done well. I couldn't really see it through the glare through the case. It looks glaring now that you see it like that, but it really wasn't at the time. And it was pretty bad. I was pissed. I'll say nothing the least.
Yeah. You were really pissed, and rightfully so, because that's just.
I don't know if it was them or the place that sold me. Toad Hall, you cheap motherfuckers. That's all.
There's nothing cheap about Toad Hall. That guy's overpriced like a son of a bitch.
I'm more mad at them than I am PGX. I don't even deal with those guys no more.
To spin off of that a little bit, everybody in here watching this or that's going to be watching this has either had a PGX 10 or knows somebody that has had a PGX 10.
Nope.
I got 2 in my safe right now, man.
Exactly. Everybody's got a PGX 10. That just goes to show that their grading practices are not par. They are very subpar to CGC and CBCS. I would never deal with PGX. I've had a couple PGX slabs. I sold it as a raw price book and said, hey, look, you got a free case. Because that's all it is. It's a free protective case.
Well, I mean, whether you want to chalk it up to somebody not paying attention or inexperience, or maybe it's the evil side of things and somebody's actually trying to pull a fast one, they have too high a track record of issues. There is a story online that can be found quite easily with the Googles, Google this. A customer sent in a TMNT #1 first print, verified first print. You guys have probably already heard and seen this story. They sent in a first print. They got it back from PGX. Something didn't look right. They cracked the slab and opened it up, and it's been switched out for a third print.
Which is dumb because the third print's obvious to tell the difference on that one.
Yeah, it's a different
right. And then there's another story of a Fantastic Four. Correct me if I'm wrong. My memory's terrible. 48. Somebody bought a PGX book, and it was graded like an 8.0, and it was a high value not Final Fantasy. Good Lord, too many Fs. Too many numbers and too many letters tonight. But it was a Fantastic Four. They bought the book as an 8.0. Decided that they wanted CGC to do it. So they sent it in for a cross grading as an 8.0. It came back as a 4.5, missing 2 pages.
Yep.
I'm missing the centerfold wrap.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
There was
That's
also
enormous.
another one that I did read about before where someone did a cover swap and
Ooh.
literally put a different book on the inside, and it came back as a complete book.
Yeah,
from
and
VGX.
So get this. So I just got the notification of a customer's books being shipped back, right? And I go and I look at the grades. I'm like, the guy wants to know the grades as soon as I find out. An ASM 238, right? Now this is through CGC. So everybody knows about the tattoo in the ASM 238, right?
yeah, the Hobgoblin book, right?
Exactly. So now this isn't something that I'm going to notice right off the bat, right? Because I just don't have enough experience. I haven't graded enough 238s to really know or look for it. But it came back a qualified grade because the tattoo had been married to the book.
Oh, that's new. At least
I was
for
like,
me.
I've never heard that before.
So the only way that can actually happen is if it got damp. There had to be moisture somewhere for that to happen, which I'm seriously surprised there was not water damage.
There was
from
not.
it.
There was not. The other option is, and this is the more likely case because there was slight staple tearing, is that they pulled the staple.
Oh, yeah.
Pulled that out, slipped a new one in there, and then put the staples in. Now, the key thing about that is that the staple, the tattoo was added at the beginning. So and this is what I'm assuming, is that if there's any misalignment of the tattoo in there from its placement, then they would have keyed off that it wasn't part of that book originally.
Damn.
But I'm guessing the staple tears clued them into it and made them look.
Yeah, so buyer beware. The days of getting CBCS slabs for 30-40% lower and then kicking them over to CGC or whatever. CBCS has raised their bar. They're on par with their prices. So what are people doing in their collections? We're looking at other options. PGX. Please, buyer beware. There are so many stories on Google, well, not on the internet, that you can utilize Googles and find them. That there are so many horror stories. Don't go out and buy an $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 book expecting that to cross grade and the same in.
No, I'm not going to buy a high graded PGX book because I have to expect that it's going to be less than that. What I would do is buy a mid-grade PGX book that I could look at and go, okay, you know what, I can probably clean and press that out and get a better grade on it, expecting something. But any book that's going to be like, it's got a tattoo in it or it's got a Marvel value stamp or anything like that, you got to be leery of.
Yeah,
I'll show you one that I got some here that are PGX 10.0s, as you said earlier. I actually got a really good deal. I think I bought the set for $250, and I can look at the books and see they're very high grade. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they got 9.9s, to be honest with you. But it never would have got that price anywhere else. So that's one of the good things about PGX because of that. And they do something that drives me nuts that CGC does. Is they take old signatures on books that were only autographed and put them as green labels, which is like my biggest pet peeve. Like the Michael Turner's the late first sketch covers, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And these are both 10.0. I mean, they're both 76 to 600. He did every single one as a sketch cover. And autograph, and they still put them at green labels, which drives me nuts. And the only reason they're still PGX is because I'm waiting for the new slabs for CPCS.
Yeah.
I'm going to break them up and bring them over. But this is like, you never find these two books.
No.
For $250 for both these.
And here's the thing. Depending on what they used to create the book of wraps that are there.
You cut out there.
Allow. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. So, all right. So on a book like that, right? Number one, it's an ash can. Right. Yeah. And if it wasn't circulated, right, that's your first capability that, okay, it's going to be high grade. If depending on the stock that they used for the actual printing production, if it's high enough, if it's closer to a card stock or some, very firm stock, right, you have a higher opportunity of the corners not being clipped, right? And it's that corner clipping, honestly, is what prevents, most books from ever getting a 9.8, beyond a 9.8. Right.
I mean, this super
The only 9.9s or 10s that I've ever gotten back from CGC have been cardstock or square bounds.
Yes.
Right? Because the cutting process is just very different. Like take ASM 800, for example, right? It's like that's like the highest magnified problem that you could see. There's still corner clipping, but it's significantly larger on that than it is on a regular book that you get, a 22 pager. But that corner clipping is the reason why books don't get 9.9s and 10s.
And a lot of the issues with the ASM 800s, the Wolverine #1s that just came out, a lot of the issues that they're having with the corner splits is because the books are so thick.
Exactly.
Yeah. And guys,
the cutters have so much more
listen
trouble.
to me. It does not affect the grade. They will still come back at 9.8.
It's a manufacturing issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, depending on the severity of it, right? Like we know those larger books, it was a little bit larger, and they'll tell you they take into consideration the print run itself, right? What was involved in the print run? What's the high watermark for for the errors that are going to happen in the printing process? That's considered part of printing errors.
Mm-hmm. So there's a comment in here I definitely want to touch bases on because no experience is ever the same, just like no book is ever the same. And Whodat said Golden Age Guru bought some keys and they came back higher from PGX when they were graded with CGC. So yeah, I may have spoken a little too harshly, but not every situation's ever going to be the same. No book is ever going to be the same. We're talking about humans grading books and encapsulating them. And the human factors and human errors do come to play. Some worse, some better. So yeah, there are definitely situations out there where there's two sides to the coin.
Can you boot King of the Golden State out of here, please? Can you block King of the Golden State?
Well, Trubisky does suck. That's why they replaced him.
I thought you were being serious for a second.
And with that being said, that just goes to show the drastic changes and the inconsistencies in the grading from PGX. Yes, you may have been able to be one of the lucky ones that got it resubmitted and got a higher grade, but normally it's the opposite way.
Yeah.
But that just goes to prove what we're talking about with the inconsistencies.
And low grade books are so incredibly hard to grade accurately, right?
Yeah.
The combination of defects that are there, it's sometimes you're just it's a balancing act, right? Being able to say what's a between a 4, 5 and a 2,
right?
There's the criteria can be relatively dramatic, and it depends upon the actual defects themselves. You can't just look at a book and go, oh, it's got a bunch of cover creases, it's a 4 or 5. Right? That's not true. I mean, it could have interior damage, it could have staining on the back. You just can't. It's hard to be accurate, right?
And I'm going to be number one on the podium to say I am guilty of not opening a comic book before I send it for grading. I've done it. But I'm guilty of that, but I am actually doing a vlog on my channel where I'm going to start grading everything that I send out to try to prevent that, so I know what I'm sending. And if I'm sending a 6.5,
I caught that. I've been meaning to watch that.
If I'm sending a 6.5, it's because I want to send a 6.5 to verify or justify my process to learn, because there's no such thing as a free education. And if I want to learn how to grade better, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to trial and error my way into that process. And Whodat is incredibly right. Every time I feel like it's a gamble, which is why every time I get graded books back, I open the box blind live on YouTube because I feel like it's like that scratch off ticket, and I love sharing that with people.
Well, now, like you were talking about, going into the whole learning how to grade, there is that book there as well. One thing that I actually started doing was I'd go through, like, for every single book I submitted for 5-6 months just to make sure I was on par to where I thought I was going to be on par to, just to verify. I literally wrote down every single book and what I thought they were going to come back at. And 98.9% of the time, I was spot on. There was a couple that came back 9.6 that I called 9.8s. But, when it comes to a 9.6 to a 9.8, it is subjective to who is looking at the book.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a 10.0, perfect, no flaws, 9.9, maybe 1, if nothing. 9.8 of my, if I'm understanding the grading process correctly, a 9.8 it can have up to 2 issues.
Very minor issues.
Very
Yeah.
minor 2 issues.
They'll forgive a single flaw, right?
Okay.
Because the important thing to consider is the difference between a 9.8 and a 10, right? The difference between a 9.8 and a 10 is the corner,
Yeah.
right? That's what it is. That's 0.1. That's 0.1. Beyond that, everything else is going to be, okay, does it have anything else, right? What else does it have? Now, if you've got a perfect corner, one perfect corner, that could be a 9.9, but now you've got a spine tick, right? Now it's a 9.8.
Yeah.
Right. And then it goes 0.2s, down beyond that. But it's not like if you count every spine tick, that's a 0.2, right? It's 9.8 will allow a single spine tick, right?
And here's verification on that.
Yeah, 9.6 will allow a couple of spine ticks. 9.4 will allow multiple spine bends and a couple of ticks. It's subjective, and that's why it's so important to get and read this book from cover to cover.
It's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day about how people look at the spine and that's like everything.
It is. It's the start.
That's a 9.8.
That is the main focus point. The corners and the spine.
Yeah.
After that, we really don't look at much more.
Yeah.
After that, if it's not a color break, I can fix it.
There might be a barrier inside the comic that people don't even notice in there because they didn't look at it. There's some little stuff like there might be wear on the cover that people don't, like a minor scuffing. They don't look at that. They look at the spine and the corners. That's what generally, if you want to sell to somebody, that's what you describe to them. But there might be stuff on the back, or
let's not forget to. Yeah, let's not forget to look at the back. I graded an ASM 101 second print today that was looking really good until I turned it on the back, and there's soiling and dirt on the back. Well, 1992 that book came out, and it's a second print. It's a cheap reprint of an original, so it had less value. People are just throwing that on their coffee table. Who knows what that thing picked up while it sat there? And if I didn't actually sit down and put it underneath a light, I would have sent it to CGC and I would have got an 8 or an 8.5 on that, and they would have hit it really hard.
Yeah.
You're like, why did I get this grade?
I actually had a customer send me a slab. It came, it was an 8.5. I'm looking this book over while it's in the slab. I'm like, there is no damage to this thing. Why is this an 8.5?
Till you take the back out.
Once I cracked it open, it's actually got water damage on the back cover.
Huh?
There's a spot on the back about this big that you cannot see through the slab. I'm like, what? I was baffled. I'm trying to figure out why this thing was an 8.5.
It's a challenge. Yeah. I mean, I had a book. I sent in a X-Men 94 at C2E2 last year, right? Dropped it off for a customer. Comes back restored. And he and I are just flabbergasted. It says small amount of color touch. We went over that thing with a black light. We went over it with a magnifying glass and couldn't find a single spot. Like, the only thing I can assume is that there was just the tiniest amount of bleed through somewhere on a black, edge that somebody just went boop, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
I'm actually buying my first restored comic, picking up my first restored comic on Saturday. I'm actually really excited about it because it's professionally restored. So that's going to be interesting.
That's another aspect of graded comic books that you could do a whole nother show on is restored comic books. I feel like are in a higher favor to people than what they were in years past. I would have no qualms with buying a restored book if I knew what I was getting into.
It depends on the age. Everything about it depends on the age. You cannot expect to have a book from the golden age that doesn't potentially have some level of restoration.
Yeah, nobody wants a 2008 restored something or other. I mean,
I had an opportunity years ago, long time ago, to get an Amazing Fantasy 15 that was restored. And I was down to buy it. Like, I was like, because it was a beautiful copy and it was an AF-15. But I just didn't have the money to get it at the time. And at the time, it was $4,000, right? It was probably like a 4 or 5 restored. But, it had pieces added to it. It had, tear seals, but it was professionally done.
Yeah, that's one thing I won't touch, for my personal collection or even to resell. That's just one thing I shy away from is restored books.
Yeah. I'll do anything Golden Age.
Well,
Silver Age, I can find it again,
Right.
Golden Age, this stuff's too rare.
Todd McFarlane showed his top 10 books he has, and every single one of them are restored, so that shows you how he feels about it. Every single one of them are restored, but they're all like older, huge books, like Hulk 1, stuff like that. But
Right.
he wanted to look as good as possible. He didn't care how it got there, but he wanted that book to be beautiful when he hung it up, which makes sense to me.
Well, the head grader for CGC started up, in Texas, and his business was restoration.
Yeah. Well, I want to address Chris Barrett here, too. He keeps on saying about how people who don't use CGX or CBS shouldn't complain about them. But my thought process is they're like the Enron of grading. If Enron came
CGX
back,
had its opportunity.
Either whether they fucked me over or they fucked somebody else over. That's just common sense. So I feel like we have a right as a person, if we want to talk about what they have and what they've done wrong, we should be able to tell that and warn other people. We shouldn't say, well, I never graded with them before, you should check them out. It's just like if I know horror stories, which something has happened to me with them.
Yeah.
It might not even be them that did it, but they made their cases so shitty that you could pop them out and use a lighter to fucking melt them back together, that there's a problem. And that's what we're addressing.
Look, if just because somebody sells junk bonds, junk stock, doesn't mean I have to buy it to know that it's junk,
Right.
It's junk. If you go to the PGX website right now, it honestly looks like a high school project, right? The quality of just their website alone leads me to shy away from them on top of all the bad stories. CBCS, I have no problems with CBCS, and I'm in the same boat as other people. I'll probably go more to CBCS as long as they stay competitive, as long as, one, the census is correct and updated. Number two, the values are comparable to CGC. And number three, they fix those cases.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with the whole new cases. But I will say out of the two behind me, I've got CBCS and CGC behind me, my personal collection. Out of the hardest ones to crack right now, it's still harder to crack a CBCS case than it is a CGC, even with the old cases.
Well, see, it's not so much that it's difficult to crack, is whether or not it's evident that there's tampering.
Yeah.
That's
true.
The key.
If you get the label out back in.
Exactly. If I can swap out the book in some way, shape, or form, if the label is not married to the inner well, that's a problem.
Yeah. So with these, there's actually a tab that folds over on the top to lock the two together,
which is easy to pop.
You can't get those apart without damaging it.
I'm gonna
definitely tell.
I'm gonna buy some and experiment with them.
You can definitely tell. Well, I've got a bunch coming in.
Get some Spider-Man ones.
I will send you a few slabs if you want to play with them and experiment.
It would be fun. Like I said,
it's left real quick.
Yeah,
experimentation with slabs.
It'd be fun. The variety and the competition drives ingenuity, and things are only going to get better. No company's gonna work and spend money to get worse from what they were at. Besides PGX, we're only going to see great things out of this. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know where I went with this.
Can we? I know
why I like these live panels is we just start talking and it's organic and it's legit.
I know it's getting to the end. Can we each throw a little bit out there about maybe EGS and some of the other companies that are coming out that are kind of new?
I'm glad you brought that up because honestly, whether it's an hour or an hour and a half, it's about your guys' time, which is greatly appreciated. And it's the chat's going to keep rolling. We got over 30 people in here. If they're still hanging and banging and clanging like the old immortal Biggie Shack's doing, we're definitely going to talk about it. And EGS, Expert Grading Services, is something I found recently.
Tony's
kind of surprised. I don't have any experience, and I've never seen a slab from them, but
I have.
They actually have
Tony's
Yeah, they actually have community members in here that have vouched for them on their website. Billy from Economics and Comics, Reggie from Reggie Collects, and a few other people have actually used their services, and they're on their website talking about them. So
I think it really comes down to what you intend to do with the books, right? As to where you're going to go, right? You've got CGC and CBCS, who are the American League and the National League of the grading companies.
Right, it's like Marvel and DC. It's the big two.
It's the big two, and you're going to have people who are going to keep trying to add that competition, and I think that's great, right? But I think it's going to take anybody time to get to get validated, to gain a following, right? And they're going to have to provide some kind of edge. Why do people want to go there, right? Case technology is huge, right? But there has to be a standard of grading that's adhered to across the board, right?
So
people from CBCS came from CGC, right? They were there at the beginning. They moved over and they opened up a new company. Good for them. They should do that. People who haven't had that technical training, I don't know if it's necessarily the right thing.
This is actually a EGS one I found. I just happened to find it. There's more and more on eBay too, so there's more of these going out there. But you can see that the thing that bothers me, like their whole security system is like these stickers on the side of it.
That's the tamper-proof sticker.
Yeah, which I feel like he's working on molds, is what I heard, and that should help out. But like, I kind of like the idea you can design your own color for your sticker. You know what I mean? It's not like a set one. You pick out whatever one fits your book better. So maybe if I was getting some just to display that I know I'm keeping, that kind of would be kind of a cool holder for it. You know what I mean? But
that is
money-wise and value is just not there yet, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Right. And if he's serious about competing, he's going to innovate. He's going to change. He's going to improve. And he'll compete if he's serious about it. So we might see more from them in time, which is even Tony Sanders has a video posted on their website for an EGS unboxing, which is super cool. I'm not sure how old these are, if it's recent or not, but I'm definitely going to check them out later.
I know. I can't remember what his name is, but there's a couple guys on Comic I saw open them up some. The guy with the long beard with the beautiful beard. What's his name? I'm losing it right now.
White Whale Comics.
White Whale?
Yeah, White Whale. I know he had a EGS unboxing when he was doing his. So I mean, there's a few out there, and he's actually the guy that runs is Tony Trombetta. I know I've seen him on chats before. He actually is a YouTube person that goes around and watches videos and stuff like that too. So.
And Chris, don't disrespect the DGCs.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I was looking at that. I'm
Can't be disrespecting our man D Runk.
Yeah, Papa Runk hasn't shown up tonight. He's probably busy with the family.
He's probably busy with DGC business.
But the DGC is a legit thing, man. And he's been gifting those things out, and those are too cool for school.
They're great.
His thing on the back says, I am unfortunately unable to quit, or I'm unfortunately, I'm too legit to quit is what he's got in the background, and he's not quitting.
And I'm able to quit as I am currently too legit.
I got one of those at C2E2 this year, and that was gifted to was it Kavi? Was it Comic Books NYC?
Might have been.
It was super cool. So I mean, even George just tinkering around, Papa Runk tinkering around, experimenting. He's created something that people are actually looking for and requesting, and I want to buy one.
And what they're what he's providing, he's not providing a professional grading service. He's providing creative casement, right? Creative slabbing, right?
Protective casings.
Exactly. He's able to take a scan of a piece of the book and add it to the actual label itself, right? Which kind of gives it a great look, like similar to the CGCs putting those those custom labels in there that they like to charge you extra for in separate shipping, which is definitely my favorite part of that. So I think it's what George is doing is fantastic, right? I really do. I wanted to have him do a Harley Quinn, Batman Harley Quinn that I got from Big Will that's signed by Bruce Timm, but unfortunately the cases don't fit the prestige format. So that was a challenge. So I'm waiting for him to get ones that do, and I'm all about it. At least until CBCS gets their stuff together, so I can have that sent in.
Well, that DGC is more of a fun thing. It's not like something that you're going to get to hold value long term or anything like that. But it's something fun if you want to get it done. Help out a member of the community. Put something kind of cool on your wall. That's definitely where you want to go with that.
It becomes a piece of artwork at that point.
Exactly.
And I'm looking for the comment really quick. It went really fast. Funk Comics 814. We talked about that earlier. where there's actually a well-known story online that you can look up where they swapped out a TMNT #1 for first print for a third print.
Yep.
And by they, I'm going to retract it and I'm just going to say the owner sent in a first print and received a third print back after they cracked the slab. So
I'm sure it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah. Catch it on the replay.
I'm sure they are totally okay. Can you highlight TJ's last comment? So TJ, I agree and I disagree with this, right? I think that there is going to be a point where CBCS is going to be a significant challenger for CGC, at least in terms of the price, in the market. But yeah, they don't have the longevity as CGC, and like I said, the case technology, in my opinion, is everything when it comes to the values, right? That and having the senses to be able to really kind of tell us the state of the value.
And another thing about the whole we don't want to go with CG or CBCS, guys, the guy that started CGC did not like the way that business was running, and he left CGC and started CBCS and partnered in with Beckett. So you're dealing with the exact same person that started both companies.
Yep. And I've had some quality assurance issues with CGC lately.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up two
fucking books before they go into the case has been my biggest problem.
Yep.
One thing I want to bring up about the slabs too, which I haven't seen, and I haven't seen anybody really talk about it either. I was big into sports cards, and Beckett, when they grade their things, they grade the quality of the autograph. I wish that would come into the books too. You know what I mean? So if that's a 9.8 autograph or there's smudge on it, something to that effect. And besides being verified, you could actually get a grade of how quality the autograph is too, which I would like to see in the coming comic book someday if they could.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree with doing something like that, only because even when they're in signature bags, okay, the artist signs it with a Sharpie, closes the signature bag, and moves it along, or hits it with his finger as he's signing. You're always going to have the potential of a smudged signature from the artist. It happens all the time. I've got ones that grading right now that have smudges on it from Scotty Young. You're talking about these guys that have 4,000 or 5,000 people standing in their line, so they're just signing quick and moving on to the next book.
Their job is to clear.
But my thing is that they're not grading the book quality; they're grading the autograph quality, which is something that's, would you rather have a smudge one or a good one? So what's the point if you can see it? What's the point of grading it too? I mean, you can already see it smudged. So what's the point if they put 7.5 smudge autograph, not for the book grade, but for a separate autograph grade like they do for baseball cards. You might have a 10.0 baseball card, but their autograph comes back 8.5 because there's a slight smudge on it or something like that. I mean, I don't think more information would hurt you. You know what I mean? It's just like, you want to get the better quality one. I would pay more for a better autograph than a smudge autograph. So what's the point? What's the bad part of having that knowledge out there?
Yeah.
Chris Barrett, made a comment about CGC being reckless and that they damage books during grading. Again, let's consider that these are human beings, right? And people make mistakes and things happen. I've gotten a handful of books back that I know were damaged during the grading or encasement process. And I'm not going out there and doing an irate Billy video and, bashing the shit out of them because, they did this and they mishandled it. I can't believe this is just incredible, because shit happens. People make mistakes, right? The only thing you can do is call them out on it and say, hey, I believe that there was an issue. How can we help each other out?
Well, yeah,
Right.
and my honest opinion is when you get a book like that, your first reaction, once you've processed that that's happened, is to contact them directly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They won't do anything about it, though. That's the thing. They're just going to say, anything can happen. They're just going to be like, oh, it happened in shipping to us. They're not going to take responsibility for it, just like the person that sent the book isn't going to take responsibility for it.
Well, they did take responsibility for some mechanical issues and mechanical errors that I had on the last submission, and they turned my books in less than 10 days. They gave me a shipping label, turned them in 10 days, and I had them back in under 2 weeks. But that being said, I did have a book go out that was a solid 9.8 candidate that went through the pressing and cleaning process, came back a 9.4 with an obvious crease that was there because of the pressing and cleaning process. I should have contacted them. I didn't. I cracked it, corrected it, and sent it back. That was my learning process. When you get something like that, at least provide that company, regardless of who that company is, an opportunity to give you the customer service that you deserve as a customer. I should have contacted them. I didn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do know somebody that was at C2E2, did on-site grading submissions and everything else like that. And, you know, we were both tracking his orders because he was showing me what was going through and all that kind of stuff. And when we left there on Sunday, they were still in quality control.
Ooh.
He didn't get the books from CGC for 2.5, almost, about 2.5 months after C2E2 ended.
Huh.
You know, so they're like, they kept saying, "Oh, you just didn't pick them up," and everything else like that. And
I remember this story now.
And it's like it was still showing in quality even up until 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
2 weeks prior to him getting done, and he was fighting with CGC for weeks. You're like, are you guys going to refund me some of this money because I paid for on-site grading and it didn't get completed on-site?
Yeah.
There's a huge price difference between on-site grading and just sending in for regular submission.
Almost double, isn't it?
A little over double.
All right.
So I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah, Chad, I feel like you're about ready to go. Your time's up, man.
Yeah, my wife's yelling at me to get off.
Really quick, before we end the show, where can people find you, man? Close us out from your end really quick.
All right. I'm everywhere. I'm on my show. I do shows. I drop videos all the time, but my live stuff I usually do. This Friday I have an auction. Tomorrow, 7 Central. We usually go to about 3 or 4 in the morning. This week I do have a special guest on my auction too. Nick from Slab Heroes is going to be on my auction this week, so
nice.
I'm really pumped about that. Saturday I'll be on Thorough's auction. Sunday I know Strictly Comics has one, and so I do a lot of the auctions. So, but also I do a Slab Sunday show where I give away a book every week, Slab book every week. I did not do it the last Sunday because I had some family issues, but I'll be giving away 2 books this week. So come on the channel, get a chance. All you have to do is comment during the live stream, and you get an entry into the win a free Slab book. So
that's how your channel started, man. I do remember that.
Slab Sunday.
Thank you very much for your time, man. Bounce out anytime you need to. Appreciate it. We're going to hit up this chat really quick because there's actually some really great comments in here.
All right. Thank you for having me on. You guys have a good night.
Take it easy, Chad. We'll check you around.
Hudat made a really good comment earlier. CBCS is owned by Beckett, and I see them become the leader in the future.
CBCS is not owned by Beckett. They're actually a partner with Beckett.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially on the verification process.
That's the only part of CBCS that Beckett runs is the signature verifications.
And I think Thunderhouse Design is on point with this. I think CGC lost some clout with some collectors with the McFarlane grading, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Why is that?
The turn times, the issues. There are a lot of people voiced their opinions when those books came back. The times it took to get them back, the grades that they came back. And my understanding is that McFarlane's pretty heavy-handed when he handles books anyways, and people are probably fairly
That's
well.
The risk you take.
Exactly, yeah. But
that is the risk you take with anybody who's doing a signature.
That's the risk CGC takes too with their label and their branding too. When they have a Todd McFarlane signing, they have thousands of books or hundreds of books go in there, and he does his thing. So
they give a time frame for the amount of books that it's gonna that they're gonna receive, and once that's closed, it's closed. Now that means that they're gonna have X number of thousands of books for Todd to sign. He's gonna be there for X number of days to get it done. Maybe it's first in, first out, but who knows?
It's the same thing. Sorry, go ahead, Eddie.
No, you go ahead, man.
It's the same thing with Cates and Stegman. They sign so many books. Cates will literally sign a book and throw it.
Oof.
Like he'll not really throw it, but toss it over to the side. Like, okay, Kate, Stegman's here, Cates here. All right, these are done. It's like, all right, and just toss it over.
Yeah.
So if you're not there, as a facilitator, your job is to, okay, here's one, boom, boom, set, boom, boom, set. If you're not doing it the right way, those books are going to get damaged.
And that's the other thing, right? And I experienced this one time and one time only, and I will never bring a book in front of a creator that doesn't have a window bag. Period. You know what? All it takes is watching Neil Adams thumb rip the top edge of your book right in front of you for you to go, never again.
Wow.
So I actually started using those.
Grab one. Go ahead.
Oh, I've got some right here if you want to look at them. If that's what you're trying to do.
I was just going to.
I've really got some right here.
Yeah. So those are the professional ones. Now that's
yes. These are the ones I use. So every single book that is submitted to me from a customer, or even one that they buy from me that is going to get signed and graded, or even just signed, goes into one of these. I buy these things in bulk. They are not cheap.
Are those one use or are those multiple use?
Multi-use.
So what you do is you take the book out of there, you slip it into a regular bag and board, and then you hand it
and
over.
Send it to grading.
You're talking like 4 mil, 8 mil. You're talking quite thick. You're talking.
That's serious plastic.
Yeah, it's not Mylar. This is actually, the heavy duty like 7 mil plastic, 8 mil plastic that you put over your windows at the wintertime. That's pretty much what this is.
So that's why people make fun of me for using poly bags in my collection on all my recent stuff and what I send to CGC. Poly bags have give to them, which I think saves me corner issues.
It does.
I use those cheap poly bags for a reason, because unlike Mylar and some of those other more expensive ones, when those corners hit, they hit. The poly bags at least have some given some stretch to them. I'm like, they're going to throw them out anyways. So
yeah, and that's the thing. I was actually with Darren, owner of Unknown Comics. I got out there Monday, literally flew back in today, back home, and they shipped a whole case, unbagged and boarded, of Wonder Woman 750s to CGC. Just here, grade all these.
Oh God.
They yelled at him. They need to be bagged and boarded. It's like, why am I going to waste money to bag and board a whole case of books just so you guys can throw them away? This makes no sense to me as a business owner. I'm like, why am I going to waste my money?
I see that as a business owner. Yeah.
So this is a homemade window box, right? So all it takes is blue tape, right? You build the window. You can make it any size. You can make it, just the top portion. You want to have them just sign over, over the ladle. Or whatever you want to do, or if you want to have a specific spot, you can have them do that. And then, I just use a razor blade and I cut that piece out, pop it out, and it's done. And then this is how it gets handed to them. They can't do anything around the edges. All they do is sign on top, and then they give it back.
Yeah.
So who was that?
I'm looking for an opportunity to get to the comments here soon, because there's a lot of great comments.
So Key Largo want to know, what is that? This is actually a professional signature bag. So what it is, it's actually a double fold bag that you put a board into, and then you slide a book into it. I don't actually have a raw one sitting right here. So you have the face of the book open, but all of the corners and the edges are protected. And once it's actually closed, it protects the actual cover of the book plus the signature once it's signed. They're not super expensive, but they're not really cheap either.
Yeah, not as cheap as the one you can do yourself.
Correct.
But they are, if it's something that you're doing, like he's a facilitator, right? This is his business.
Yes.
So that makes sense for him to have professional level gear. If it's just you're just going to the show or whatever, you just get, you do what you can, right?
Yeah.
I did 20 books this year. You do what, 200, to 2,000 sitting?
When I was at C2E2, I did about 450, 500.
Okay.
That's awesome.
For one show.
Show. And I was by myself.
That's 3 days.
That was rough.
I'll tell you what.
It was rough.
I did 20 books, and my feet were killing me. right? Because I'm standing in line, I'm waiting, right? Obviously I don't have a truckload of books, for each person getting signed. I got a hand, but I think they're more than 20 cents per spirit.
Yeah.
So luckily, I was up there with Comics Elite. Sean Hadashko, the owner of Comics Elite, is a really good buddy of mine. He's actually my mentor. He's actually the person that has helped me get to the level that I am at. And he had Ryan Brown there. Ryan Brown actually jumped on my live shows every night from C2E2. But all of my stuff for my customer stuff for the signatures and everything was actually all in Ryan Brown's booth. Most of the time, it's all stashed in Ryan Kincaid's booth because Ryan Kincaid's always at all of the cons that I go to, and he's actually a buddy of mine. So, when you don't have a booth and place to store all this stuff, and you're bringing 3 and 4 short boxes, the BCW plastic case short boxes, you don't want to truck those things around. They get freaking heavy.
I have a custom rig. Andy saw it.
Yep.
Andy saw my rig at the show. It's a BCW plastic slab box and a regular box attached to a hand truck.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. Mine will hold 3. Mine will hold 3 BCW plastic short cases on the hand truck, and it's got a bungee cord that goes up and over so nothing falls.
That's exactly what I've got. I just did 2 because I have a backpack that says on top it's got like snacks and water and shit like that.
Right.
Let me hit this chat up. There's a lot of great comments going further back, especially with TJ. We all know TJ is the Slab Dragon Watson.
Here's what I love about TJ. If you take a look at his room, right? We all know that the CGC cases are stackable. Yet his are never like, well stacked, right? They're like all, at funky angles and everything. You're just waiting for the Slab-a-lanche to come.
Yep.
So believe it or not, guys, you were talking about them being stackable. The CBCS slabs actually have tabs that run along the longer side of the slab on the back side and interlock on the front side of the other slab.
The newer ones they just changed last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they actually interlock. You can actually fit more into one of the graded boxes with that because you're saving a lot of space on them.
Okay. God, yeah, there's a lot of great comments. This is the most people I've seen in the chat rolling with a lot of great comments. Do you think there will be an authentication only slabbing company, or maybe CGC or CBS will do a signature authentication only slabbing? Interesting. I don't know.
I guess that would depend if Beckett's going to open up that service to CGC or not, or if there's another one out there. Like we talked about the third party, census stuff. I think it's smart for companies to be able to get in there and be able to take that data and be able to suck it in. But whether multiple companies will start using a similar, or the same company for services, I don't know.
Yeah, so Jim Kovacek is actually, I forgot the name of his app, but he actually does a census type deal as well. I'm actually going to talk with him and see if he's going to incorporate the new CBCS census in with the CGC census and combine it together.
That'd be a good question to answer.
Effective, yeah.
Yeah, but TJ, he's only had issues with CCS. That's the only place I've had issues with so far too. And I think Mr. Geek Aficionado here is somebody I'm going to be sending my next major cleaning and pressing submission to at some point that's favorable for him as well. Him and I have been talking about that a little bit. We'll talk about it more.
I send out modern submissions monthly, and I send out value submissions every pretty much like once every 2 months. Just depends on how many I get into an order.
Yeah, and there's more comments that I can keep up with. I really appreciate it. We're at the hour and a half mark. This is the longest run. I know the three of us could go for 2 or 3 more hours. We can save that for the backstage and let everybody wish they were hanging out with us. So,
well, OutCast is working on a demo for Chris Barrett. He wants to see
so Chris Barrett wanted to see these things how they stack. If you can catch it, there's actually a lip that runs right here, and when it marries up to another slab, they don't slide. They lock right in.
Okay.
So they actually will hold a lot more in a box.
That's good.
wow, that is pretty good. Man, let's see if we got any more great ones. Thunderhouse. I struggle with autocorrect all the time. Chris Barrett's still hanging out with us the whole show. Thank you very much. Thunderhouse has been here the whole time. Key Largo Comics, thanks for stopping in. If you enjoyed the show, we're here every Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Funk Comics, thanks for hanging out, man. I really appreciate it. TJ, thanks for hanging out the whole time.
Hey, Bubs just showed up.
Did Bubs just show up? Man,
Just showed up.
is he gonna
Or
raise,
he's been here a while just lurking. I don't know. Pulling
is
a
he gonna
parry.
make me shout out Enormous Stitz? Because I love Enormous Stitz. That was my favorite shout out ever in the world. Prodigal Son Spears, I haven't seen him around in a while. Thank you so much for hanging out. Yeah, it's getting late. I know you're on the East Coast. Catch the rest on the replay if you can. McFarlane promoted so that Signature Series so highly that everything was going to be so great and straight from the tip. That has been, yeah, I don't know. Some people were highly disappointed. I did see some unboxing videos on YouTube where people were not happy. I did see some other ones that people really were.
I think the biggest complaint I heard about that one was him calling out what stuff he's not going to sign. Like, I've had people mistakenly sign, books that I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to have this. And like later on go, oh yeah, he didn't even work on that book. Still sold it though. Just because they wanted that signature, by that guy.
Friends can have differing opinions, right, TJ? I mean, come on.
Right.
That's the spice of life. Largo, I'm going to take this opportunity really quick. Let's start closing out the show, which could take a little bit. Let's plug the Hero Initiative really quick. Every week, the Hero Initiative, if you go to their website, heroinitiative.org, and look in their merchandise section, they've had creator panels. There's been panels. There's been people you can hang out with. I had the opportunity to do one with John McCrae, actually, who's worked quite a bit with Garth Ennis and done some work on The Boys and some work on The Punisher. You're talking about private panels and private interviews and hangouts with writers and artists and creators you just can't get anywhere else. And when you sign up for one of these or you make a donation to one of these, all the proceeds go to the Hero Initiative, and that supports comic book creators and artists in need. We haven't talked about them enough tonight. I'll plug them all the time. They're a great group of people. They're a great group of people to hang out with and talk to and work with. Thank you very much for everybody that has made the time to check them out and share that and make a donation. They only have one left right now, and that's Chat and Bus Sketch with writer and artist Dan Barrington. They've sold out everybody else for next week already. So there's one left, and I know they've been planning on releasing another, I think. So that's really cool. I'll stop yammering. Let's roll right into Geek Aficionado. Where can people find you, man?
You can find me on my channel. I am working on more content for my Will Work for Comics segment. Plus, I am on my way to Las Vegas this weekend, and I will be doing a pickup from Torpedo Comics from some stuff I got off their Steve's live auctions on, or not auctions, but they do on Instagram. They're doing live sales pretty much every day. But when Steve is on, he's pulling out the Golden Age and significant Silver Age stuff. So I have an epic comic haul coming up. And I'm inviting other members of the community to come on to do quarantine comic hauls so that we're going to talk about where we're getting books from while the stores have been closed, what kind of things that we've been able to pick up, and how we were able to get that. And a lot of that's been through members of the community, through the auctions or through trades or deals like that. So I think it's important that everybody gets to see, the different ways that they can be picking up comics during this time.
That's an important. Yeah. Thank you, man. Hey, OutCast. This is your first time on the channel, man. There's a lot of places people can find you. Let's make them known where people can find you.
All right. Well, we run live shows every week. You can view the live shows live on YouTube at OutCast Comics, live on Facebook at OutCast Comics. We also have a website, outcastcomics.com, and we have an Instagram, OutCast Comics.
Yep,
so real easy to find us.
Yep, all those links are in
Branding.
the description as well. But yeah, thanks, man. Really appreciate your time. All those links are in the description. If you guys haven't subbed up OutCast Comics, please do go check out their YouTube channel and go check out their IG, and also check out the Geek Aficionado. Find him on YouTube, sub him up. Let's look for those comic hauls. And Thunderhouse Designs, thank you, $4.99 super chat. Those super chats all go to the Hero Initiative, every one of them. Thank you very much, guys. I could talk for another 2 hours.
Hey, I'm down.
I mean, we could talk forever. Let's make everybody jealous. Let's do it in the backstage. So everybody, thanks again. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for the invite for this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go peace out. I'm gonna go pinkies out. Catch you guys on the flip side, and we're gonna talk backstage.